Hi everybody. This is year 2 of the simulation, so I just want to review the results. So we see here, this is year 1 here, and we can see that the profit levels by and large have gone up from year 1 to year 2. So this is net profits per team, and you see Biggest Autos and profits grew a deal, and Kennedy Automobiles has grown a great deal too. And the biggest increase I think was Ultra Power Autos. Went from 41 to 81 million dollars in profits. So everybody, by and large, I think profits have increased. But this is so if you could get to the over 80 million in profits, that's tops in the class. We had 2 teams do that, and a bunch of teams who are in the 60-70 million dollar profit range, and some teams who are lagging under 50 million. So profits is what owning a business is all about. Profits are what investors are looking for in companies, and shareholders are looking for. So that's why it's an important measure for the simulation. If we look at points here, we see that points overall in the second round have gone down. So probably the average points in the first round were about 700, and no team broke 700 in the second round. So the first round the average was probably around 700, and the second round I think the average was closer to 400. Which is typical. So most teams in year 1, year 1's the first year your management's in charge, and they made a lot of good decisions compared to the start of the company in year 0. So it's pretty typical for companies to do very well in year 1 points wise, but year 2 it gets harder because you're competing with your results from last year. So some teams went up in points. Most teams went down a little bit in points, but that's okay because remember, you're trying to average about 425 points a round. So if you look at some of these teams, they did, most teams are around the 400 mark. So that's really good. That's what you're shooting for in points. And round 2 and round 3 are hard rounds to do well in because you're starting to grow your company and invest in your company. And typically points start to go back up around 4, 5, and 6. Okay, if you look at stock price per team, we had Biggest Autos in the first place in stock price, and then we have YYJ and Kennedy Automobiles, and we have one team, Engine 2 in Autos is now last place in earnings per share, stock price rather. I'm sorry. And okay, so we have 2 companies down here still below average in stock price, and they can help get their stock price up, maybe buying back some stock, and increasing their earnings per share. And then we have 3 teams here at the top. Most everybody else here in the middle. Okay, sales per team. We look at sales per team, and we see that Biggest Autos is still in first place in sales, followed by JJ Auto still in second, and IANOA Auto still in third. So no real big change as far as the top 3, but we could see this company here in light green, Crystal Autos, went up a great deal. This company had the biggest increase in overall increase in sales, the biggest percentage increase. And everybody increased in sales, it looks like, but some teams did better than others. Now this team here at the bottom in sales, this is why you may have been underperforming in your if we look at your stock price is low because you're not selling up to your potential. And that's what investors look at that, analysts look at that, and you need to reevaluate your forecast and improve your overall sales for the company. Okay, earnings per share. We have this chart's probably the craziest of all the charts. This company here, Ang's Autos, had looks like the biggest increase, along with Ultra Power Autos as far as earnings per share increases, and Biggest Autos in first place in earnings per share. So a lot of companies were able to really correct their earnings per share, and some companies were flat. And actually, I think this could be a reason why some companies' performance weren't so good in the second round, is that they failed to make any decisions for the second round, so they were forced forward, and that means that the round 1 decisions were copied to round 2. So some teams decided to use the let's break the project up, and Scott's responsible for first round, and Lisa's responsible for the third round, and Jody's responsible for fourth round, and Bill's responsible for the fifth round. So trying to divide and conquer up the work, but that's a fail because you know what? Lisa forgot to do round 2, and Bill, Jody, and Scott didn't check, Now round 2 wasn't done, and it was forced forward, so now they're in last place. So that's why if you're working as a team and people are checking each other's work and you're working collaboratively, that would never happen. You would never miss a deadline. So teams that have missed a deadline, it might be because you're a team of one, and that can happen, or that you're a team of many and the person responsible for submitting it just didn't do it, and now the whole team's suffering. So really be careful of missing a round, because it's going to really lose the simulation. You're going to lose the simulation for it. And I think in the assignment there might be also other punitive damages if you miss a round and don't complete it. Okay, so let's look at Ultra Power Auto. Okay, so hold on. Let's go to actually I want to go here. So this is the points from smallest to highest, and it's just the percentile rank of how many of the I think there's like 5,000 other teams in the database, and how many of those teams you beat globally. So this team beat 89% of all the other student teams who played the simulation, and I think it's capped at 5,000 teams. So pretty impressive. And Dreams gross profit margin and Solo and also Ultra, these three companies beat 92 to 93, almost 94% of all other players. Okay. So if we look at Ultra Power Auto, you can see that they were very, very effective in their forecasting. I think that's what helped them do very well. All right. Okay, so this is my practice game. I'm in round 2 here in my practice game, and this is what, if you're not doing well in the team competition, you can always go back to practice. You could, once you've finished your 6 rounds, that locks in on my side. I see that you finished your 6 rounds, and you could restart the practice game. So you have to get all the way to the end of the practice game, which is, you're at the end when you submit round 6. It rolls you over to the round 7 is the end. You don't do any inputs for round 7, but you could restart after you finish the practice rounds and keep practicing. So here in my practice game, and my round 2 results were 741, but I still had a deficit here, so I lost a couple hundred points, and my profit margins went up a great deal. I think that's what helped me the most, is my profit margins went up, my sales went up, but I had a deficit. So my pro forma financial statement didn't show a deficit. So the reason I had a deficit is I had unsold inventory of 523 cars. So as I, we finished chapter 3, so you should be able to understand these financial ratios here. The forecast area is, you're basically just trying to improve your forecast. And once you get to 100% of forecast, meaning you're selling 100% of your forecast, you can't earn any more points. So forecast is an area you're trying not to lose points in. Operational investments, if you double your operational investments, you earn 100 points here. If you make 50% more operational investments, you make 50 points here. So we're looking at investing in operational investments. And cash surplus is whether or not you end up the round with a surplus. So what I should do is I should go into these hints in my self-assessment and look at my performance, my percentile performance. I perform low on my revenue, and I perform low on my total asset turnover, which is typical for round 2 because we're accumulating assets at this point. And my operational investments were average. My cash management was poor. So this is a good way to just look over your score and understand how you scored and what you can do to improve it. Then you should review your charts, especially the industry chart. So you want to go and see how you did in the industry like I did in this video earlier. And you want to also check out, besides the industry, it's also good to check out the performance chart. And specifically at the bottom of the performance chart, your sales to demand. So my sales were only 2,000. My demand was 2,100 here. Here, I met my demand fully, but I had excess cars. So it's a balancing game. You want to meet your demand, but you don't want to have too much excess vehicles that are unsold and left in inventory. All right, so then we go into industry charts here. I check out the other teams, how they did, how they put their cars together to get some ideas of how to improve. Maybe review my financials now that you know that what financials are about, income statement, cash flow. You can review your financial statements and then go into the sales category. So here, again, I'm trying to, I already have this filled in, but I am updating my sales for round 2, just like you did for round 2. And then, let's see, production. So for production here, I did my production, and I need to make some operational investments. Throw those in. And then, okay, the financing page. So round 2 is $34 million surplus. So I'm just going to go back to my overview. So for round 2 in my overview, so round 1, well, I'm in year 2 now, but this is my round 1 result. So I said 700 points, which is about what the class earned. So I'm going to see how I do moving from round 2 into round 3 if I get sort of that 400 point range of points. What I'm going to do, since I have a nice surplus here, I don't quite need 34 million. Maybe I'll buy back some stock at this point and retire a little bit of debt. Okay, so I'm going to process the round. And now I'm in round 3, like everybody else, and now I'm caught up to the team competition, like you guys are entering round 3, and this is my results for round 2. So you can see in round 2 that I had a deficit, so I lost 100 points there, and again, I did good on my operational, so my profits went up a little bit, my return on assets, equity multiplier, return on equity are lower. So I definitely have some problems here. So for my round 2 results, I only had 292, which is below average compared to the class. And then I would want to look at my total asset turnover, my return on assets, and my operational investments, cash management, some of these assessment areas to figure out how did I perform, what's my score from excellent to low to poor, and some hints. Again, review my charts, especially my performance charts, and we'll see here that, okay, so I met my forecast on truck and luxury and economy, but again, I underestimated my sedan. I could have sold 200 more sedans. So I think what happened, part of my poor performance was in my production, I had a lot of leftover vehicles, and that's what sunk my deficit. So my forecast is bad. But in my defense, I'm not really analyzing the forecast. I'm just slapping numbers in here really quickly to just to complete it. And I see again that the customer expectations have gone up, so it's getting more expensive for me to make my vehicles, and my operational cost reductions have gone up because I invested in my operational, and so I'm able now to increase my profit margin. So again, I'm going to go in and I'm going to rebuild my cars. And again, you shouldn't copy what I'm doing here. I'm just throwing numbers in, and I'm trying to figure out, what I'm trying to do is make a better car than last time to one, improve my profit margins. I want to make sure I keep an eye on those and that they are hopefully going up. If they go down, my investors will be displeased, my stock price will go down. And hopefully, I also should pay close attention to my forecast, because I've been doing poorly in forecast because I'm not really investigating anything. I'm just slapping numbers in. But in my reflective observations here, remember you need to fill these out for every round to the end of the game. We didn't have to do it for round 1, but round 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I want you to fill out these reflective observations for all the pages. Let me just go to production. So here, production again. Now that I have this excess inventory, I don't actually have to, I do have to buy 2 new plants here, actually 3. So I have to ramp up my sedan production because I'm really under my sedan production. But here, since I have this remaining inventory, I don't have to make as many new cars because I can remodel these older cars. So I'll be able to sell off this inventory and have a better return on assets next round if my forecasting is good. So let me just make some operational investments to keep reinvesting in my company. But I don't want to invest too much money too fast or too little money. It's a delicate balance. And again, I need to think about my capacity utilization for my plants. How many plants do I have and how well am I utilizing them? So it's an important concept to understand the capacity utilization. I want you to calculate those percentages, and I want you to tell me about your strategy for your production. All right. So here I have a pretty big surplus because I didn't do any marketing yet. So I'm going to fill out my marketing, and I got to think about what to do with my retirement of funds, and then I'm not going to process this now, but I'm going to, when we finish round 3, the class competition runs round 3. Then I'll come back, I'll review round 3, and I'll submit my round 3 decisions to see how I did compared to the class in my practice game. So that's my advice so far in the review of round 2, and you're moving into round 3. So make sure that you are doing your work as far as analyzing your forecast, analyzing the competitors, analyzing your overview points, and redesigning your vehicles to optimize your profits and investing in your company to make it a better company in the future. And let's see how you do moving in, completing round 3. Now, remember, you like I did here, I'm using my practice game here. You should do the same. If you're not doing well, do some mock trials in the practice game to test out some theories or some ideas you may want to deploy as far as levels of marketing, levels of sales and forecasting, and get an idea if your strategy is going to work. Although the players are not the same as real players, at least you're kind of testing out your ideas in a demo before you do it in a team competition. Okay, so that's my advice and review for the results of round 2. Good luck moving forward into round 3, and I will talk to you soon. Thank you.